So today the title of my talk is Your Health, Your Business, Building Resilience and Preventing Burnout. Imagine a woman running her own business. She's the CEO, the marketing team, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, the finance department, and somehow also IT support. She's managing clients. Sorry, I'm just trying to, I just need one of them, thank you. So I'm just trying to position this so that, and that's okay, because don't worry, I think I've got it, because this doesn't, okay. All right, we can always improv. My trainers will be very proud of me. All right, okay. She's the CEO, I'll just say again, she's the CEO, the marketing team, the finance department, and somehow also IT support. She's managing clients, emails, social media, cash flow, and answering messages like DMs, we called it these days, on Instagram at 10 p.m. thinking, I'll just quickly reply to this one. This could be my potential client. And she's doing well. The business is growing. From the outside, she looks successful. But internally, she's just exhausted. Her brain never switches off. She's up at 3 a.m. She's perimenopausal, like me. Even when she rests, she feels guilty. Sounds familiar? And let's be honest, even when you take a day off, like today, you're still thinking about your business. And sometimes you're at brunch and you're like, yeah, I'm relaxing, but should I be launching something too? Because you saw something fantastic on Instagram. You're like, ooh, I should be launching that as well. And this woman could be any of us. And for a long time, that woman was also me. So today I stand before you as not just a physician, as a media commentator on the area of burnout and well-being. I've spoken a lot in media about this very topic. I've also spoken professionally in industry leading events and healthcare events such as M&D Australia and a variety of medical colleges. I've just released as a professional author as well, I've just released my memoir back on my feed 2 months ago. It's a baby, it's 2-month-old baby, this one. I was pregnant for 2 years with this one. And thank you. And thank you so much. And yeah, having 2 kids, this felt like a third baby. And yeah, it was published through ABC Books and HarperCollins, Australia, fantastic publishers. And as a mom of 2 adorable yet annoying at times children, they are 10 and 5. Joseph is 10 and Jacqueline is 5. It's either K-pop Demon Hunters or K-pop, full on K-pop. Or Jacqueline is still into, I think she's growing out of the K-pop Demon Hunters phase, thankfully. But more importantly, as someone who understands high performance under pressure. Because whether it's medicine or business, the pattern is the same. You know, it's high achievers, it's high responsibility, it's high expectations, and very little space to be human. And today I help high-performing women move from chronic stress to calm and clarity, and from burnout to sustainable success, using a variety of tools like nervous system regulation and self-compassion, which works on the nervous system very differently. But here's the truth, right? You can build a successful business, but still feel like you're failing. So it may appear that I've got it all, but my journey didn't start here at all. In fact, it was far from this place of resilience and self-compassion. So this is from the 90s, raised in a typical Asian household, being a high achiever was a baseline assumption. I was taught that good enough was never good enough. And this continued at the prestigious all-girls academy where I went to school. I was surrounded by a group of perfectionists and overachievers, and I was totally fine with that. If you are that person, you know what I mean, and you don't have to be an Asian to relate to this. You know how that kind of environment can push a high achiever like me to push myself even harder. I did the same in medical school and residency. This is my final year of medical school. We were very happy to graduate. But we are not always clowning around like this. And I did the exact same thing in medical school and residency. And looking back, I can see I was headed toward burnout. But it's not something I would have been able to see back then, much less say out loud even to myself. So when things got crazy busy, I got crazy busy with them, never stopping to think, never stopping, running from ward to ward, from patient to patient, doing my charts, never feeling like I was moving fast enough. I even scolded myself for needing to use the bathroom. I don't know, any one of you in healthcare might be able to relate to that. Or maybe not even healthcare, any business, running a business. And just FYI, the moment you find yourself wishing that you have a catheter at work, or IV caffeine into your veins, that's actually the time to slow down. But slowing down is the last thing that a Lone Ranger like me is likely to do. Think of the actual Lone Ranger. His whole job is saving other people. It's a lot like being a doctor. You gallop in when everything seems lost. You've even got a mask on. You save the day and then you gallop off to save the next person. Like a lot of doctors, the last person the Lone Ranger worries about is himself. He doesn't have time for that. There are people who need to be saved. And that was me. It wasn't just that I was uncomfortable with weakness. I actually saw it as a personal failure. To ask for help in medicine, in healthcare, would have been like admitting I wasn't capable. Dare I say, not competent. And yes, the medical system was to blame. But I did what so many of us do. Whether we're in medicine or another high stakes, high pressure profession, and that's to blame ourselves or blame myself. It's something that a lot of people feel. When we experience adversity, we criticize ourselves, and that self-criticism ends up putting us in a spiral of negativity. That slide from self-criticism to low self-worth to losing our sense of who we are is one that's hardwired into our brains. It's that part of the brain that responds when we feel like we're not measuring up, not good enough, not enough. That part of the brain is called the limbic system, the oldest and most primitive part of the brain. And when the limbic system perceives that thought of us just not being good enough, it perceives it as a threat and tells us, get ready to fight or get ready to run for your life. So when our threat system gets triggered, our brain releases the stress hormone, cortisol, from the adrenal glands just above the kidneys. And this activates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight-flight response, which sends a signal to the body, telling it to brace itself because danger is approaching. So once upon a time, that fight-flight response made a lot of sense to us. It kept us safe. There's a very clear adaptive value to this. So if you're walking through the jungle and you find yourself face to face with a lion, it's not the time for leisurely contemplation. I don't think you want to sit down and sort through your feelings with that lion. So it's time to move. So the limbic region of the brain kicks in, and before you know it, you're just running for your life. Well, thankfully the problem is, which is a good thing, is lions are not as much of a threat as they were once. We kind of know that intellectually, but it's not something that the more primitive parts of our brains have caught on to entirely. It's not your brain's fault. It took millions of years to evolve to that point. And the fact that we're rarely in situations that require us to have immediate fight-flight reaction is, at least from an evolutionary perspective, a relatively recent development. It's for that reason that when our self-concept is being threatened, when we tell ourselves that we're not good enough, our brain reacts as if there's a lion behind us, one that's stuck on our back and following us everywhere. It's like our brain is motivating us with a cricket bat or baseball bat, whichever sports you think of, which is not very effective. When I was a resident doctor, rushing and running through my ward rounds, that's how it felt like to me. Like I was being chased by a lion, many lions probably, barreling along, not thinking and not knowing how or when I was going to stop, and not knowing how much I needed to. So the day that it changed for me was the 10th of September 2008. So it was a day like any other, or should have been like any other. I remember seeing the old worn-out Toyota beginning to reverse out of the parking spot. I didn't think much of it. until the car ran me over. So what happened after that is a blur. What I remember very clearly and viscerally is being thrown up in the air and hitting the ground, pretty smack on very hard. So when I opened my eyes, I felt an excruciating pain in my lower back. Time stood still. As I lay there on the pavement, I slowly put together what happened. First off, I was still alive. I knew that much. That was good news. The doctor part of my brain kicked in, and that was even more good news. The fact that I was able to think meant that I didn't have a traumatic head injury. I started moving my arms and concluded I was not a quadriplegic. But then I realized I couldn't feel or move my legs, and I started to panic. I knew it meant I had a spinal cord injury. I mean, I'm a rehab medicine trainee, so I knew that. I knew it meant I had a spinal cord injury. Specifically, what I was going through was what doctors call spinal shock, where there is loss of sensation accompanied by motor paralysis with complete loss or weakening of reflexes. So that moment changed my life tremendously. I was rushed to the hospital and found myself abruptly on the other side of the healthcare system as a patient. Oh, that was an eye-opener. Those first days in the hospital were the most challenging of my life. Not just physically, I think mentally and spiritually, emotionally, it was hard. I felt like a pincushion. I had lots of drips on my arms and a feeding tube up my nose. And yes, I had that catheter that I had been secretly wishing for. Just a few months earlier, I had that. Oh, sometimes life can be a joke, a very funny joke. So I'd never felt so vulnerable, so broken and helpless. I just remember this particular photo was taken on my 29th birthday at the rehabilitation hospital where I had my close friends and family with me. It looked like I was smiling, I was happy, but inside there was a lot of sorrow, a lot of pain, a lot of sadness that no one could see. Because every night what I'll do is I will close my eyes and muster all the willpower I could to try to move my legs. It was paralyzed. This was about 6 weeks post-injury. Every night when I did that, there was nothing and nothing again. And by that point, I didn't know if I would ever walk again. I didn't even know whether I'll even go back to medicine or be a doctor anymore, or even if I will ever have children. And the most important thing is I was so worried that I will become a burden to my husband, that he will just leave the marriage, or he'll just leave me. Totally, it'll be a bit too much. Because once upon a time, I had imagined myself as this lone ranger. I was self-sufficient, I was incapable of weakness, and in hospital, I felt really alone in this negative spiral of a victim mindset. Just me and I, my own worst enemy. And in a dark space where my idea of myself just felt entirely lost. And then, one day I heard about a center for spinal cord injury recovery in San Diego, United States. It was there under the watchful eye of my trainer, Mika. She's very tough. She looks tiny, but she kayaks, she does marathons. She's a tough cookie. So under the watchful eye of my trainer, Mika, she taught me how to overcome my fear of standing on my own. I was just freaking out all the time every time I tried standing. And then one day she just said, "You gotta stand on your own." And I was fearful, I was frightened, but she told me, "You've got this, you've got this." And I took my first few painfully slow steps. By this point, it had been 3 years since my accident. But when I took those first few steps, I just remember telling myself, or at least exclaiming loudly in an American accent, because I've been in America 3 years by that time, "The doctor is back in the house." American accent. And I was going, ooh, where did that voice come from? Who was that person who was able to see past all that tragedy, all the unfairness, to see what was possible, and to declare proudly that I was back? It was me, of course. That was my own voice. I had never heard it before then, but I knew I had to listen to it. I realized then if I was going to be able to fully recover from all of this, to get back to the life I loved, the profession I love, the person who I knew myself to be, that I will have to find a way to get me to believe in myself. If I was going to get through this, I'll need to have my own back, to be my own best friend. And that was a revelation. Wow. When I first arrived at the center, I had imagined that it would be their cutting-edge technology, Project Walk's cutting-edge technology, that will help me recover. The truth I found was that everything I needed was already within myself. What I really needed was self-compassion, self-acceptance, and to just let go of that self-critical, high-achieving attitude that used to define me my whole life. So instead of being on autopilot, I had to slow down and be mindful, literally, of each slow step I was able to take. And that was full-on, intensive boot camp, 5 days a week, 3 hours. I was in my early 30s, so I think I will be able to handle that then, not now, but back then, yes. But mindfulness was my greatest teacher at that time. So I took off my Lone Ranger mask and took the time to connect with my fellow spinal cord injury survivors. We were bound together by our common humanity and our common suffering, being spinal cord injury. We formed our tribe, we formed our community, we found kindred spirits, we healed together. And most important of all, instead of being a perfectionist, just beating myself up all the time for every mistake I made, I learned to accept myself for who I was. And mindfulness, common humanity, and acceptance. These are the 3 pillars of self-compassion. And it was through them I learned what it meant to be my own best friend. And why am I sharing all of this with you? Because I just wanted to share as women, it's not our businesses that we have to look after. It's our other babies, I call them. I shouldn't say that. We have to look after everyone. We have to look after everyone's needs. We have a huge caregiving role, especially us with young children. Who has young children here? Oh yeah, that's half the room. So you know what it's like. Managing your business, looking after your kids' activities, sports. Well, my kids play music and choir, so that's a fair bit. They're not sporty, thankfully. But or there's more things for us to do. But it's all of that. It's the caregiving load, the mental load. We have to remember not only like our family members' birthdays, we have to remember our kids' friends' birthdays. Go to Kmart and buy whatever particular present for the kids' birthdays. We remember our family members' dental appointments, medical appointments, and all of that. You get the gist. You got to do everything for the family. And when we can't keep up, we blame ourselves like, I should do better. But I think we need to change this story. We need to change this narrative. We need to put ourselves first, or else we will definitely burn out. Okay? I just wanted to highlight the huge mental load that women carry that doesn't get spoken about very much. So I just want to acknowledge the women here who have taken the time to be here, and I know you have to probably pick up kids after that later on, and I get it, I know all that. So congratulations for being here, taking time for yourself, okay? Very good. And why does this matter in business? Why does all of this matter in business? Now let's bring it back to business, because we are all business owners here. Most of us are business owners, including myself. I run a professional speaking company or business. Because burnout in business is not just about workload. It's about decision fatigue. How many decisions or micro decisions do you make a day? Like which graphic for Instagram? Is it the carousel? Is it I'm learning all these things. And then which color image and all these things. It's a lot of decisions we have to make. Not just that, social media, other things. Emotional labor, financial pressure. Times are hard. People are not buying the way they used to. And responsibility for others, like those who have contractors or have team members under their business. And then that's the invisible load, because you're not just running a business here, you're holding your clients' goals and expectations, because I do a lot of coaching and mentoring, so I get that. There's a lot of my clients are in healthcare. They have a lot of goals and expectations. I get it. And then your team's well-being as well, that's an invisible load, because your team might be going through a tough time. They might be burnt out as well. Your family's needs, especially with kids with special needs or elderly parents, that's family's needs. And your own internal pressure as well. And then we say things like, I just need to be more disciplined. I just need better time management. That's the kind of thing you keep telling yourself. No, everyone, you don't need another productivity hack, please. Please, please. We're all very productive people. Please acknowledge, pat yourself on the back and say, we are very productive people. What we all need is nervous system support. And I learned that the hard way, and I can guarantee that is so crucial in running a business, because I'm running a business now, and that is super crucial. Because burnout is not just a time management problem. It's a neurophysiological state, which I'll explain in a little while. So I am going to nerd out a bit, but when I nerd out, I gotta sit down, okay? Because it's kind of nerd out equals to sitting down. Okay, there we go, there we go. So when you're under chronic stress, what happens is that your nervous system shifts into survival mode. I've just explained that through my storytelling. When that happens, your cortisol increases, your brain scans for threat, you become reactive. And this is why you overthink decisions sometimes. I do this all the time. You struggle to switch off. When you're watching K-pop Demon Hunters with your kids, do you think about, oh, I should do that, I should do this, I should schedule that post, this, and all this is, you struggle to switch off. You feel constantly on all the time. You snap at people, including children, your kids, and then feel bad about it. And then you apologize like, sorry, I'm just a bit stressed, which is basically the adult version of, I need a nap. I've done this so many times, and my husband's so over it sometimes. But here's the key. You cannot think your way out of burnout. You have to regulate your way out of it. So let's nerd out a bit here. We're going to spend some time on this slide, because this was an eye-opening neuroeducation piece for myself, even as a physician, because I didn't know about all this until I did lots of research on it. And that was not only very relieving for myself, but for my clients and also my patients, because all of us have a nervous system. So I think this is very applicable across healthcare or in your own business. So look at that, the window of tolerance. Inside a window, we are stable, we are present, we are regulated. Our arousal here naturally ebbs and flows, and we're likely to feel calmer there in the window of tolerance. We're able to connect and engage with others. We can think that this is where the river flows, and there's difference in currents and ups and downs, but the river is flowing, And this is where you feel open and you want to give your kids a hug, and you feel ready to just be open and accept things. But above the window is where we experience hyperarousal. This is what I was telling all of you about, that heaps of sympathetic energy. This can show up as anxiety, like waking up at 3 a.m., thinking about your work. It can show up as anger as well, agitation, and the mobilization of our body and brain. So here, we are hyper-aroused, meaning that we tend to be oversensitive to sensations, or outer senses like sounds and smells. We're also hyper-vigilant to our surrounding and experience high emotional reactivity. Life feels rather chaotic up there. Okay? And below the window, we experience hypoarousal, and this can be shut down, depression, apathy, and disconnection, numbness, or dissociation. This is an immobilization response. And we experience an absence of sensations there, not the fun place to be in, and disconnected from yourself and others. And this is where burnout actually lives, in the hypoarousal state. Because from a neurobiological perspective with burnout, it's because of chronic stress for a long period of time. You are in that hyperarousal state, like constantly switched on, trying to put out fires in your business and all that. That's hyperarousal. But what happens when you peak out? You do run out of sympathetic energy eventually. Cortisol drops, and guess what? You just drop into that hypoarousal, and you find yourself doom scrolling on social media at night. I've been guilty of that many times. That's that freeze state. You just can't move. You feel stuck. And that's where burnout lives, in the hypoarousal state. With hyperarousal and hypoarousal, our ability to think clearly and respond appropriately is impaired because there's not many signals going up to the prefrontal cortex, which is up here. So it's just your amygdala or limbic brain just going on, switched on, and scanning for threat. And I also want to mention that when you're going through long periods of chronic stress, or even traumatic stress, we call it traumatic stress, due to traumatic events, the width of the window, that window of tolerance, may just get narrower, and before you know it, you're swinging up and down like a yo-yo between hyperarousal and hypoarousal, okay? So using regulating resources, which is a big part of my framework reset method, and I'll be teaching all of you a resource, self-compassion resource later on in this presentation. And you can use tools like that to help you guide yourself back to that window of tolerance that helps your nervous system recover during those times of adversity, okay? So as you do this again and again, you'll find that your window of tolerance gets wider and wider and wider, and you increase your nervous system capacity and you won't be dysregulated anymore, okay? So this is my nerd out of about probably 5-10 minutes already. So hopefully this was eye-opening, because when I taught my patients and clients this, they will make comments and say to me, you mean I'm not going crazy? That it's not all in my head? That there's nothing wrong with me? It's very, very validating, I think. This piece of neuroeducation is, I'm so excited to actually teach you, all of you today, because it will be really an eye-opener, okay? Oh yes, and I've got a burnout matrix quiz, and I've got a particular quiz that the doctors really love this one, because they wanted to find out which particular archetype of burnout they are in. So feel free to scan the QR code, answer a few questions, and then in a couple of minutes we'll continue the presentation, okay? I feel like we should have some music here. But I don't think I'll play K-pop Demon Hunters or something. That might be a bit, just kidding. Oh, there you go. Oh, wow, magic. Thanks. Oh, thank you. That is the best. Yeah. All right, I think a lot of people are almost there with the quizzes, with the quiz. Okay. Thanks for doing the quiz, everyone. Hopefully you get your answers soon via email. What if I told you the key to building your nervous system capacity and thriving, not just surviving, is self-compassion? And here are the 3 pillars of self-compassion that transform my life, and I spoke about it earlier on. Mindfulness, just being aware of how we treat ourselves. Common humanity, knowing we're not alone. Self-acceptance, speaking to ourselves with kindness. But here's the good news. Self-compassion actually rewires the brain and the nervous system. It reduces stress hormones like cortisol. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, shifting us into a state of calm, back to that window of tolerance I spoke about earlier. Self-compassion also improves resilience, allowing us to recover faster from setbacks. And I'm going to explain each of those pillars in greater detail, because that's when everything shifts. So the first pillar is mindfulness in a business context. So just awareness of your internal dialogue. You know, I've had lots of launches, and I'm sure all of you are not new to launching products, launching programs. And let's say if after you've had a failed launch, and I've had failed launches too. So after a failed launch or difficult client, what do you say to yourself? Do you say, why did I mess that up? I should know better. I want you to ask yourself, would I say that to my friend, to my other business friend? Would I say the same thing? Exactly. You won't say that. No? And the next pillar is common humanity, which is just the interconnection that we're not alone and we're all in this together. I want a show of hands, who here has ever felt like I should be further ahead by now? This is a very common thing in business. Trust me, I've compared myself to my other physician entrepreneur friends who are opening longevity clinics. I have done that. And they're very far ahead, and I'll keep thinking I should be far ahead now. And look at you, there's now so many hands were up, including my own hands. So you're not behind. You are human, okay? Just acknowledge that part of us. And the next part is self-kindness. So instead of I'm not doing enough, keep telling yourself I'm not doing enough. Try telling yourself I'm doing the best I can in a demanding season. And this is not lowering your standards. This is changing the way you sustain them, okay? I just want to say that self-compassion is the ultimate superpower. I'm a huge fan, clearly. And self-compassion is not about weakness. It's actually about strength. It actually prevents burnout by calming the nervous system. It makes us better leaders. We lead well when we are well. And it improves client care because an entrepreneur who is well heals well as well. But let's make this very applicable in the business sense. So let's make it real. What does self-compassion look like in business? Self-compassion in business looks like saying no to clients that drain you. How many of us have been guilty of taking on clients that are not your ideal type and they drain you more than usual? So self-compassion looks like putting fierce boundaries, saying no to clients that drain you. And self-compassion business looks like not checking emails and DMs at 10 p.m. because that's bedtime. Well, that's my bedtime. Self-compassion business looks like pricing your services without guilt because you are worth it, like L'Oreal says, you are worth it. And self-compassion in business looks like taking a break without feeling like you have to earn your break first. Just take it when you want to. And because we've all done that thing when we're like, I'll rest when I finish everything. And then everything just never finishes because the kids come and this, that, and everything else. This is how burnout happens. Not just from one big spectacular moment, it's from hundreds of small moments where we abandon ourselves, we don't set powerful boundaries. That's what happens. But the more we practice self-compassion, the more energy, joy, and fulfillment we experience. Okay? And yes, there were times when I felt like giving up myself. But that's true of a lot of us. It's actually something I see on a daily basis in my work today as a pain physician. So when patients arrive in my office, they often feel like they're at the end of the line. They've already given up on themselves, and they've given up ever getting rid of their pain. And then I tell them, hold on. I tell them, how will you treat your best friend? Now treat yourself the same way. So we're there for others, but we need to be there for ourselves. It means believing in ourselves. It means having our own back. Remember that you are your own best friend. And that's easy to forget on a daily basis, isn't it? With a busy life. I just want to challenge all of you today to do one act of self-compassion. It could be giving yourself grace when something doesn't go as planned. It could be taking 5 minutes just for yourself, having a cup of tea. Or it could be something as simple as placing your hand on your heart and saying, I've got you, I've got you. And speaking of placing your hand on your heart, now let's do an interactive reset practice. I call it reset practice. And I just want to close in a little while. But I want to close by sharing with you a simple thing that anyone can do to remind you. It's something that I will do in those darkest days of rehab to remind myself that I had my own back and to be my own best friend. Okay? All right, this is the fun bit because I get to do this with doctors and many other professions. And doctors are always the fun people to do it with because this is very hard for them. So I want you to, first I just want to let me see you raise your hand. It doesn't matter if it's right or left, just raise your hand. What feels right to you, now put it on your heart. Go ahead, even if it feels a little strange. And I want all of you to take 3 deep breaths with me, hey? So this kind of breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of your brain designed to calm you down and make you feel safe. It helps you get back to that window of tolerance I spoke about earlier on. The hand on the heart leads to the release of oxytocin, which is a love hormone, we call it, into the bloodstream. Well, it's like giving your nervous system a hug, telling her that it'll be all right, that she's safe, you are safe, and that you are with her, no matter what. So this hand on the heart practice and 3 breaths, just like that, you probably feel your heart rate slow down and your breathing relax. In fact, your Apple Watch will probably tell you that as well, which I had experimented on myself. This is not mindset, this is neurobiology. I'm very excited about all of this. I can nerd out all day, but I don't think you want to hear me nerd out all day. But so use this practice before you make a big decision in your business. We go, oh, it's very nerve-wracking. Use this practice before a difficult client conversation. And use this practice when you feel overwhelmed. And just feel how that small little act of kindness shifts something warm and fuzzy inside. That's actually self-compassion. And I just want to talk about self-compassion is not just a personal thing. It actually changes the way you lead your business, you lead your team. It causes a leadership shift. Because when you are regulated, which I experienced for myself, you make clearer decisions. Suddenly the brain fog disappears, like, oh, I can actually think. When you are regulated, you communicate better. You're more present. And when you're regulated, you create psychological safety. And that affects your team, your clients, your business growth. I think nervous system has something to do with, it helps when you are regulated, it just helps your business. You feel happy again. You're not burnt out. You're not feeling like you have to slog all day for it. And I just want to say that most successful women in business, the ones I know, are not the ones who never struggle. In fact, a lot of them have failed many, many times. So they are the ones who actually know how to come back to themselves. Because your business will grow, and so will the pressure. And the question is, will you grow your nervous system capacity with it, or will you burn out trying? So I leave you with this. How will you treat a best friend or a best friend running your business? I want you to treat yourself the same way. Because when you become your own best friend, you don't just build a successful business. You build a sustainable life. And that's the real definition of a success. If the topic of burnout resonates with you and you feel, oh, I think I'm burnt out and so is my team, just feel free to email me, just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have a chat. And given that I have to be savvy with social media these days, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, _Olivia. I got it right. It took me, because Instagram was never my primary platform. It's always been LinkedIn, so I'm starting to get a hang of it now. It's actually very addictive with celebrity stuff. I try, so I try not to go on Instagram way too much. I need to actually have a set timer for it. So feel free to reach out on my DMs, and I promise I won't check it at 10 p.m. I have to practice what I preach. And my beautiful book, or my baby book, is now 2 months old, and it's available for purchase at the end of the presentation. I'll be outside with my assistant, Teresa. And when you purchase a book, you get a free bookmark and a back on my feet cookie. In a purple bag. So think about Mother's Day presents. If you go, oh, I haven't bought anything. This beautiful cover, I cannot say, HarperCollins do the best book covers. I cannot understate how beautiful that is. So yeah, it's a pink spine with Asian flowers. It's beautiful. Good Mother's Day present. And if you want to do bulk orders for your team, department, hospitals, for those working hospitals, organizations, also just feel free to email me at my email address, hello@drolivialeong.com. This is a QR code if you want to purchase the book now. And yeah, I'll just leave it there for a little bit while I have a little rest. Okay. If the QR code is not suitable, then Teresa and I are available outside we can help you out. Okay. And I've got a entrepreneur bundle of 2 books, Women Leading the Way, anthology series on female leaders, powerful women. And also Ignite is a beautiful anthology book about business women and how they set up their business. It's a fantastic book. So I have a special offer today, 30 Australian dollars for 2 books. Will be available outside as well to sell those books. And thank you. This is my recent book launch at Melbourne. At readings. So this is my close family and friends, fellow pain physicians coming to support me. So very, very happy. So it's now, I can't believe it's 2 months old now. Yeah. And we've got Q&A, I believe. I know that we've got all this time. I think about half an hour for Q&A. So fantastic. Oh, is it? Okay. All right, it's Q&A now.